Hello everyone and welcome back to IMO Reviews. Today we are discussing the elephant in the room of cinema right now, and that's Magazine Dreams. Magazine Dreams tells the story of an amateur bodybuilder called Killian Maddox, whose dream is to become the greatest of all time. But his dreams become delusions as his lifestyle and his personal issues consistently get in the way. So far, in 2025, cinema has been pretty disappointing, to say the least. I know that I can be pretty harsh, but I do think it is quite damning that as we approach late April, we haven't had a single 10 out of 10 so far. And yet, I've already got 6 1 out of 10s. We're struggling to find a pulse here, guys. And in the last few weeks, a movie has slipped out there with very little noise, very little advertisement, and for very obvious reasons. Killian Maddox in Magazine Dreams is the first role that Johnathan Majors has taken on since his arrest and guilty verdict last year, I think it was, possibly 2 years ago. And I think people are still a little unsure and uneasy about the situation. I know I am. There is an awful lot of hearsay around it. It's very muddy waters to get into, and I'm just a film critic. Is the film good? That's all I really care about. And I can gladly say it was surprisingly brilliant. I did always have a sneaking suspicion that it would be good, but I didn't expect it to be this good. The cinematography is just wonderful, and it's delivered in such a beautifully artistic way. I thought the lighting was sensational throughout the film. It's so cleverly manipulated to create these tones and feelings and atmospheres. As well as the sound design, it has such a beautiful flow from poetic and melodic to a really tense rumbling that's just about to explode at any given minute. And I also really appreciated the use of silence through the film. Just sometimes, silence is the biggest noise that a film can make. And Magazine Dreams absolutely understood that, hitting you in those guttural moments that it really needed to. The craftsmanship on display here is sensational. I really was in awe of how well put together this was in every single regard. And yes, Johnathan Majors is again brilliant in the role of Killian Maddox. He is utterly committed to the role, both physically and mentally. He really does manage to get into the headspace and psyche of this character and make it all so tangible and believable. They mesh into one at times, and it is delivered with a weird understanding to it. You might not be able to relate to the character, but you can at least understand why he is the way he is and why he makes the decisions that he does. It very cleverly plays with you as an audience member because you don't always know how to feel about this guy, but it is always tinged in sadness. I also think the surrounding cast were really good as well. Again, they really played into that realism angle. It's also believable, and I think a lot of that credit has to go to the dialogue as well. It just feels natural. I believed these conversations. I really was pleasantly surprised by the angle that this movie was going for, taking a look at something that is perceived to be so mighty and strong and resistant, and scratching just a tiny bit beneath the surface to discover just how small and fragile and delicate it all is. And perhaps that discovery being the very reason it built itself to be strong and resistant in the first place, and yet it isn't working. There are aspects of Magazine Dreams that reminded me of 2 other sensational films, one being my personal favourite, Whiplash, in its narrative of sacrifice for success and whether the cost was worth it, but also Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver, with elements of isolation and the spiralling madness that can come from that. But Magazine Dreams isn't copying, not by a long shot. It's a smart enough and confident enough film to take those themes and apply them interestingly and from refreshing angles that require complex thought and consideration from its audience. And I am always a fan of a movie that leaves me with plenty to think about come the end. It's so deeply rich and nuanced, and I think there is just so much there to uncover. I'm pretty sure that I will find more depth to it on a second watch. If I did have any complaints about this movie, it's that towards the end of the film, I do get the impression that it wasn't entirely sure where to finish. You would have a scene where it feels like it's starting to wrap up and we're going to end there, and you can sort of make your peace with that and say, okay, yep, I think that makes sense, that's fair enough. And then it doesn't end there, and it goes on, and you're like, oh okay, I guess we're in for a bit more. And then we get to another scene where it feels like it's wrapping up, and you're like, oh okay, yes, now we must definitely be wrapping up, because this feels much more like an ending. And then it doesn't wrap up, it keeps going a little bit more, and I think it does it on at least 3 occasions. And it was okay, because I was thoroughly enjoying the film and the directions that it kept on going in, and how much it had me on the edge of my seat and uncertain as to what was going to happen. But there was an element of umming and ahhing, that sort of, do I get my coat? Are the lights going to come on any minute? Should I finish my drink quickly, or should I take my time? Maybe that's just a first time watch issue. On a second time round, I think I'd actually be much more at ease with that, especially now I know where it's going to go, and maybe I'd be able to appreciate those scenes more. So even in my complaints, it's far from the end of the world. And I am so glad to say that finally, for the first time in 2025, I'm going to give Magazine Dreams a 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching this review. Please be sure to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and please do hit the comments as well. Have you seen Magazine Dreams? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, if you haven't had enough of this crazy ginger, you can always click on these suggested videos right here and get yourself lost in an IMO wormhole. But if not, take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next review.